So recently I got to sit down with the Path of Exile team and ask them some questions all about the latest update to Path of Exile 1. Now, I actually got to interview Mark, aka Neon, but it was a little bit different than most of my interviews. I had to write questions in chat, so I thought it would be fun if I acted out how I was asking the questions and then sort of cut the video together so that he's responding to what I had written. But spoken from me, I don't know. Let's just see how it goes and go from there.
Like normal, there'll be a Q&A. To do that, all you just got to do is write your questions in the chat channel on Discord.
Question. Is this where we put the questions?
Wait a couple minutes, and then thanks, Destin, for making me laugh a little bit.
Got him.
All right. Hope everyone enjoyed that, and that everyone can hear me. You never know. But yeah, feel free to fire away with the questions in the chat, and I'll just start answering them. I know we don't have as many people as normal in this session, but I don't know. It means you can get to ask more questions individually, or if you have all the answers already, that's fine. It doesn't really bother me either way.
Now, it was about this time I just dumped all the questions I've been writing on my phone while watching the presentation into chat. So,
oh, okay. Well, never mind. Destin, of course, there's 30 of them there, so that'll give me some time to fill in. So let me catch up on all of that. All right. Well, I'll start back from just because I wasn't too sure if that was your first question, but at the very start of it, Destin does ask, did the game get a graphics update? The first thing you'll immediately notice, yes, is that generally lately PoE1 has a lot better in terms of asset quality, and part of the thing there is that we get to utilize the art that's getting made for Path of Exile 2. And then we get to either, in this case, we've taken it pretty directly, some of the monsters, which is great. Put some twists on it, adjust it, deploy it in PoE1. In a lot of cases, we get to then make modifications to it. We get to use sometimes the model, change the animation, sometimes the animations, change the model. But simply because, PoE1 is such a, has been around for so long, you get this like very insane spectrum of very old art all the way to very new art that's now coming in. So often a lot of the modern stuff can just look like absolutely insane when it's on the backdrop of something quite old. But yeah, we get to use a lot more modern assets nowadays. We still have to optimize them for, PoE1, but nonetheless, it's good. Yeah, so anyway, not specifically a graphics update, not to say our engine isn't constantly getting better, but we just effectively get to use better models, better art. It's great. And it all obviously looks really nice, and, we'll see where that goes. So, second question we have, and I agree with this first part of it for sure, probably the rest as well, which is I love seeing Breach get some love in a rework. For sure, it's exciting to do that. But the question being, will Splinters and Breach Stones have a new way of being obtained with this new mechanic? So to answer that one first, during this breach, everything that was the existing breach, so during Keepers of the Flame, all the existing breach stuff is not there. So you won't have the Splinters and Breach Stones. Now, some of it is there, like a lot of the rewards from the bosses are there. You can get, a number of the uniques that would have been exclusive to that content from the Genesis tree. So, the rewards are there, but honestly, that content, again, when we're doing this thing where we're trying to modernize and revamp, that existing stuff may come in later as another extrapolation, but because we're trying to forward the storyline, like they've now come through to your world, they've come through to Ray class, and you're trying to stop them. There's new bosses, and we're kind of phasing out those old ones. Now, to be fair, those were literally some microtransaction sets we dunked in red paint, 10 years ago, however long Breach was. Now, that not to be said they were bad fights necessarily, but very old, very dated. not on rigs that people like to animate on nowadays. So being able to come in with just the completely new things and get completely new fights. And honestly, we've learned so much in the last 10 years in terms of how to make boss fights better, make them good, and being able to apply all that to them, instead of being just perpetually stuck with stuff that's like a decade old. It's good to be able to apply all that in PoE 1, and obviously we've learned those lessons for PoE 2 and whatnot, but yeah, it's very exciting to be able to go back and take all of those lessons, apply them in PoE 1 as well. And so we want to make sure we're free to do that. Now, that isn't to say like much with most leagues when they go get added to the core game. We evaluate what people like. We can, in this case, evaluate what people liked about Breach before as well, and make sure that all of that stays in. So throughout this league, if there are things that people miss from old Breach, we'd consider adding them, integrating them, be it with a new fresh coat of paint and a new tile set with new art, with new monsters, new bosses, all of that stuff. It would just get added to our list of stuff to evolve and add. So, we'll just listen to the players in that regard, see what they have to say about it, add in whatever we can. And until then, yeah, you've got this new Breach. The old Breach will still be available on Standard League, interestingly. So, yes, because this is a league, we've had to do the interesting thing where we've now got technically 2 versions of Breach existing in the game, where one is restricted to Standard. So none of that's been unimplemented. None of it's been deleted. It's all still there. We made sure to keep it all intact. That way, if we need to bring anything back or integrate it once the league is finished, we can just pick what the better of all of the things and compile it into one thing. Now, the second part to that question is also, is this sort of a one-off rework, or is the plan to go back and rework / modernize some of the other integral mechanics as well? Like a lot of people want Blight. It's hard to say one way or another with any level of certainty. I would say that, generally over time, we get to this point where it's like, there was a really cool concept at some point, and we have an opportunity to do extra world building, narrative, artistic updates, mechanic updates, and all that. And I'd say that you're probably going to start to see a little bit of overhauling and improving old leagues balanced with, adding completely new concepts. I wouldn't say any of it's out of scope. The one thing about changing old leagues is if you remove what people ultimately like, you have to be very careful with the rework. Like, rework is harder, modernize is easier. However, modernize probably gets you less bang for buck in terms of bringing in new players and bringing people back. Because one thing you can do when you touch these old leagues is kind of ruin it. And we have to be very, very careful not to do that, because each league, which is something I really love about PoE, each league has a kind of fan base to it. And the moment you do anything to it, you're gonna exclude some of those people. And this is why sequels just have to be kind of handled very carefully. And you've got to be making sure to not ruin the things that people love about it. So yes, modernization, great. Reworking, careful, but still want to do it. But honestly, being able to just extrapolate on the world building, integrate it properly, add new rewards, fix up all the jank, because there's always a little bit here and there. Do new stats, new passives, new endgame, all of that. Love it all, and I would expect a number of other leagues to get it, especially as they get more older and older and older over time. Some of the leagues we've just straight up removed because in the past, Perandus kind of just despawned off the face of the earth, because it was kind of like, okay, well, in order to salvage this, it's a full new league, so there's not really a salvaging we can do. So it really, as long as they come from a good enough baseline, and I would say Breach, Blight, a lot of those leagues achieve that, then yeah, completely happy to do so. Okay, so fire through this list of questions. So
I have to hand it to you. Breach looks fun. Hand, because of all the hands. Anyway, what's the ideation process like when updating a mode like Breach?
Thanks. with all the hand puns. So what's the ideation process like when updating a mode like Breach? Well, the good thing is we got to go from a bit of a baseline here, because when we designed, we were doing Breach for PoE 2, we kind of jumped forward a bit. So you've got these 2 points in time, where one is 25 or odd years in the future, and then you have PoE, and we kind of like showed the end of 25 years, and then we were like, hold on, we didn't explain or say anything as to what happened in the middle. So I was like, and now we've got a bunch of art we can use, so let's take that art, extrapolate on it, do the update, and start to tell that story of what happened over the 2 decades between PoE 1 storyline and PoE 2 storyline. So aside from obviously just wanting to update Breach, it was one of the first, it was one of our like first big leagues. It was like a kind of there was like a league moment where we pivoted from one type of league to another, and it was like the first of its kind. So we're kind of going back to the origins there, and we're like, we need to update the story, we need to progress it forward, you know, keep building upon it, update the mechanics, update the art, make it fun. But the one thing that came again, it's the important thing here, is we need to make sure that we don't overcomplicate the combat and turn it into some, complicated, confusing thing or something. Like, the people who love Breach should still love Breach afterwards. I believe we've achieved that, because ultimately it was pretty simple. It was activate a thing, get swarmed by monsters, fighting them in a circle, fighting for your life. It honestly fits the traditional, just like ARPG mowing down monsters more than most. Kind of everything since then, we like to add twists to things, X factors to things, different types of combat, whereas Breach was like the simplest form, and we wanted to make sure we maintain that, while still making it feel new and exciting, and fixing some of the broken things the things that weren't quite good enough. So the ideation process was mostly coming from a narrative standpoint here, and a world building, and wanting to expand on that, but also wanting to give a new fresh coat of paint to our very first league that we all kind of love, and while doing that, make sure we maintain what people loved about it the whole way through. What is it with you guys and hands? I mean, it's Breach. Breach is hands. It's just what Breach is. The boss, the Zesht in Path of Exile 2, is a Breach boss, so it is still hands, and just there's lots of hands, because that's what Breach has going on. It's just got hands as this thing. Honestly, it's kind of cool, kind of creepy. There's kind of a lot you can do with it. You can animate them easily. They can do skills easily. So like everything kind of works, and they feel nice and it's kind of almost horror bound and fits into the dark world, yet also completely works as depicting a demon. So I don't know. Hands just work. They just do.
When do you feel like a game has overstayed its welcome? Some others in the long-running game space seem to be struggling. I'm referencing Destiny. How does Path of Exile 1 stand the test of time?
So another question, when do you feel like a game has overstayed its welcome? Some others in the long-running game space seem to be struggling. How does Path of Exile 1 stand the test of time? Honestly, I mean, especially in today's like gaming ecosystem, if you want to call it that, a lot of older games are honestly thriving. Like, they're doing really, really well. I would actually argue that a lot of more modern games are kind of hit and miss and struggling nowadays. Now, that being said, it's kind of a spectrum all over the place. I wouldn't say I'm educated in that regard, because I just focus on PoE, 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 PoE. That being said, I honestly just think that we have a very passionate team who honestly love the project, like through and through. Path of Exile 1, 2, doesn't matter. There's still even though we're like working on PoE 2, there's still a massive amount of staff that love PoE 1. We update it consistently. Sure, we had a bit of a moment there where we had to put it on hold as we were working on PoE 2's early access release, but we've done pretty consistent patching for a very, very long time, consistent updates, innovating the content. If you compare some of the very first expansions and what they included, the first league was Onslaught. It meant monsters had 20% attack, cast, and movement speed. And that was the first hardcore league we did. That was a league. I mean, now we're talking about, you got NPCs, areas, bosses, monsters, character improvements, classes, skills just everywhere, QOL improvements. Like, we're not like, sitting here taking it easy. It's full. We have a schedule. We want to update. What can we do, and what will players love? And I think if people were, you know, I mean, obviously you need a relatively good game and concept to start with, but I think if you can just strive to do that level of patching and constantly making the game better and better and better and better and doing more and doing better and innovating by a passionate team who actually care about the game, then I feel like in almost all cases you're going to grow a player base. And that is one thing to know. Like PoE1 grew, right? It doesn't just like sure it's high, it goes low, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And you get your ebbs and flows, and you get your plateaus for a bit, and then when you plateau, you're like, hold on, we need to do more, we need to do better. Let's get more people back in here. Let's get people excited about it again. What do we need to do better? So don't let it get stale. Don't flatline. Just keep innovating, keep designing, keep doing better, and make sure that people, your staff, the team working on it, feel passionate not only about working on it but also about playing it. And I think we have just that recipe, and it works for us. Now, again, I haven't researched too much about the rest of the industry because I just focus on Path of Exile all of my life. So I can't speak to other games, but that's, I guess, my perspective on how we kind of keep doing so well and keep growing and keep standing the test of time, as you said. Another question, how do you prevent the player feeling like they're on a hamster wheel chasing short-term power that's simply replaced in a few months? I mean, part of it is that you don't need to stop that. I mean, that kind of is what we're doing. I wouldn't say things are replaced. Like, we don't have the kind of World of Warcraft expansion territory of literally the patch comes out and every single thing that you knew and which is a thing that MMOs historically have done when you're just like, an expansion comes out, literally everything I knew and had aside from, some basics is just like gone. It's done, right? My character's nothing. Whereas every bit of knowledge you have in this game and it carries over, right? Like most of the game is familiar, right? You're coming in from a place where you know what you generally know what you're doing. You generally know what builds are, options, what the classes are, what the characters are. Like we change stuff, sure. What we've actually found is when we change too much, it starts to tilt the exact other way. So as much as people like changes, there's a huge amount of people that love that familiarity. But the answer is, yeah, come back and play and then stop and then come back and play and then stop. And yeah, it is a hamster wheel chasing short-term power in a regard, but as long as every single time, I mean, it's many, many, many wheels. You're not coming back to the same wheel, right? You're coming back to new content, new things, but it's all layered on top of that, like base, that intuitive thing you remember, you come back to and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this, I love this, and then there's a few things that you have to learn on top and you can use to, make your character strong. But I mean, obviously, there's always the debate about whether or not you should have new leagues or, just a game that lasts forever and you play in the same, standard league, I guess. And there are people who come back and just play in standard league every time, playing on their existing characters like that. There is a community for that. But obviously what we have found is that more people like to come back, play in a new league, play in a fresh economy on a fresh footing, try a new character, or maybe just play Deadeye 15 leagues in a row. Entirely up to them. But yeah, ultimately, people love it, right? So we fell into this rhythm because it is what we found people liked to do. So I wouldn't say we need to prevent them doing necessarily anything. We've found the thing that people are happy with, so we're just going to keep delivering on exactly that. We've tried slower frequency, we've tried higher frequency. We've kind of found the sweet spot of the 3 to 4 months, and that's what works, so we'll just keep doing it. New skill and support teams are a big deal. When's the last time you added new abilities? Core skills, it's been a while. So I would say that we add new skills all the time, but often they have a kind of, for example, in the last league, Mercenaries, or the Secrets of the Atlas, we added Trathan gems. So, and then before that, there was Transfigured gems. And so there's always been we've done kind of, twists on skills, and we've done a bunch of that. So there's often stuff coming out, but in terms of actual just core abilities, especially skill gems, we did obviously the retaliation skills with Settlers of Kalgur. I can't remember if there were any others around there. Honestly, we work on so much stuff. Good luck, my short-term memory nowadays. Or maybe that's long-term memory, whichever one. But however, honestly, yeah, we don't add a lot of them too frequently. But there's not really a particular reason for that, honestly. It's just that, sometimes it's nice to do skills, focus on character side, and sometimes it's nice to focus on content. We don't always get to do both. In this case, we were just kind of like, you know what, it's time for some new skills and supports. Let's especially like focusing on Wander and a few other like the more archery attack stuff. It's like these seem like they'll be cool. Let's get them in there. So the last time you could argue was the last patch. It just depends what you count a new skill and support, I guess. So, but yeah. How do you make it so that players can map, which is in-game maps, but to never feel overpowered to the point that the game is too easy? Well, you can get to that point. Not very many people get to that point, but at this point we have so much content that is so multiplicative. You have atlas trees, you have scarabs, you have so much of this, and it goes you have delirium, and layers and layers and layers of mechanics to make things harder, that you really do get to just push the difficulty, very, very, very far. But also the characters can get very, very, very far. Honestly, there are many points where you probably do feel too overpowered, but then there's but there's a way I can make things harder, or there's a new atlas strategy I can do, or there's this or that, right? And generally speaking, every time we try and add more rewards, we try and add more difficulty as well. And as long as you keep doing that, yeah, you get the kind of scaling issues, but you can regulate it to a degree. You can have them be somewhat exclusive. You can power creep, and occasionally you have to bring the power back and bring the numbers back a little bit. But ultimately, for the most part, we just have so many levers of making the game harder and more rewarding, and we have so many levers of making your character more powerful, that just both just go, and you're going up and up and up and up and up and up and contesting, and all the way through. And even then, when you've done that, you might be like, okay, I've now kind of perfected this strategy. I'll try a different atlas strategy, and it's completely separate, something you saw someone doing, be it you were doing abyssal strategies over here, and maybe you want to do I don't know, the like Rogue Exile in-game strategy, or maybe you just want to fight uber bosses, and then you find, oh, my character was overpowered, but not against bosses. I maybe need to do something about that and calibrate. And this isn't something that was always the case. Before we had so much content and so many layers, it was actually very easy for someone to just get to a point where they're like, well, this game's trivial now. It happened many, 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 many times. It's just that it is possible to get to that point now, but it is just harder than ever. So yeah, there's kind of like no ceiling to when you can just stop playing. Like a lot of people feel like they can just finish all the core quest lines, complete their atlas, and finish, and other people want to get to the point where they're actually min-maxed as possible in every single strategy possible, and which is something I love, by the way. It's like that's part of what makes PoE1's endgame so able to be played so many times on repeat. And then often by the time that you perfect everything, a new league goes core and a new league gets added, and now you've got two more variables that change everything, and it's like, oh sweet, what is this new stuff I can do? So but yeah, I mean, it happens, but right now we're in a real good spot. Do you feel like you're adding too many tricky mechanics to the Ubers? How do you push it and keep it fun without it becoming annoying? Well, the luxury here is they are Ubers. They are not fit for everyone. They are meant to be a test of skill and a test of your character's gear. Now, obviously, you can almost always, as is in PoE, overcome mechanics by just making your character so freaking powerful that it can kind of ignore them. That is a thing you can do. It's completely fine. If you maybe you're SSF, or maybe you're in a different, context where you don't have trade, or whatever the case is, obviously you can compensate for that lack of character power with skill and overcome it still. These are both completely viable strategies. We kind of just love it, but they are Ubers. They are designed to be tricky mechanics. They are designed to be harder. It's not meant to just be a pushover. So, um, you know, the whole fun but annoying, each to their own, honestly. I don't find them annoying. I find them fun, and you might hate them, and that's perfectly okay. As long as, because we have enough bosses, enough Ubers with enough different content, you're going to have some you love, some you hate, and then different people will have some they love and some they hate. Completely fine. But there's 3 of them, so maybe one of them you like, 2 of them you hate, or vice versa. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. All right. Let me just keep going. Okay. Well, the QOL improvement's huge. I agree. You are welcome. We will continue to do that every single patch. Hopefully, getting like 10 of them a patch or so would be nice. And yeah, regarding the graphics, yeah, agreed. So another one from Victoria. Are there going to be any major / notable differences between the async trade of PoE 1 and 2? Besides what game it is, and will it have the same requirements? Yeah, it is currently identical in terms of requirements. The only real change is that because the gold metagame is a little bit different, like the gold balance of the game, it's not exactly perfect. And gold in PoE 1 is actually has a higher demand because of the settlers mechanic. So we have this thing where we're having to now balance trading with engaging with settlers. So we need to make sure we get that right as opposed to just throw it in there. That being said, and it is worth noting, we are working on UX improvements to that trade system. There's obviously been a lot of things that have come up, about wanting to be able to more rapidly. So, for example, if you have a pair of boots in your inventory, you can do something to immediately search for those parameters, so you can then modify from there to be able to find equivalent or similar pairs of boots quickly. Whereas right now you've got to fill in all the stats and fill in all the values to search for it to be able to assess it. Now, obviously, a lot of people just use price checkers. That's not ideal. Ideally, we'd either find a way to integrate that or reduce the need for it. But these are things we'll get there. We'll be applying both of these improvements when we do them, as we do them to both games. But yeah, the exact same requirements. And if you've purchased the merchants tabs for PoE 2 already, you'll have them for PoE 1. You don't need to buy them again. You just have them in both games, much like most or all of our microtransactions. So, no issue there. Next question. With the old breach going out, are there any changes to the breach nodes in the Atlas tree to interact with a new rework mechanic? So to immediately answer that, we don't actually do Atlas passive nodes for actively running leagues. So currently when you play in Keepers of the Flame, there will be no breach nodes on the Atlas tree. The mechanic, due to the grafting and the kind of tree, it has its almost sort of own meta progression. So you'll be interacting with that. Are there any new stashes for the Grafts and Graft currency? I believe there is, yes. I need to actually double check that, but I believe there's a Graft locker or something. I can't remember what we call them. And that's just for stuff that sits in the monastery. I can't remember with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure there is. Only because last time I saw it, it didn't have the art yet, so it looked like the heist locker, and I remember thinking it looked weird. So that was a little while ago, of course. Is there a plan for the 10 new Ascendancies, so that's the Bloodline classes, to become a core part of the game, or just specific to League? So it isn't specific to the League, it is core game. They will be available in Standard and in Keepers of the Flame. Now, not to say that once the League Keepers of the Flame ends, or much like with any expansion, if they are unhealthy for the game, if they're unhealthy for balance, or if we just need to make any changes, we're always going to make those changes. So for now, we intend for them to be core, remain core, and stick around afterwards. But, much like with any new content, you don't know how it's going to play out, so we'll see. And then a personal one. Steven wants to try run something brand new this league. What's your favorite new skill in this league, so I can try and possibly fail to build around it? I I don't remember the names of them all exactly because they all go through a bunch of name iteration, even though I recorded some of them. But 100%, I mean, I'm kind of even torn between trying to just make a Ruckus of Tornadoes build or trying to do something interesting with the kinetic wall skill. Not entirely too sure yet. I would honestly just give the wanders a try, give some of the kinetic skills a try, and see what happens. The wanding, like the whole just bouncing projectiles everywhere using the like ricocheting wall, sounds like one of the most fun things to me, but who knows? Next question. On standing the test of time, when you have a big lull or low point, how does the company weather that storm, financially and or morale wise?
Again, I'm referencing Bungie with this question, not really grinding your games.
Big lull or low point. I mean, have we even had that? Like, I don't even know if we've ever had that, to be honest. I think the worst case we had was either, yeah, because we had to stop, like, just in the context of PoE 1, it was because we had to stop developing to focus our resources on PoE 2's early access. And honestly, you know, we had to pay a cost to that. We certainly, you know, it was regrettable and it sucked. But we were still working on a project, you know what I mean? Like, I would say that the morale lows come from actually when we deploy something and it sucks. Because, you know, we fail. And so often what sucks is like a week into the league if we really miss the mark on something. Like Dawn of the Hunt, yeah, we kind of messed up some stuff. That sucks, but like you just have to truck on forward and just fix it and make it better and do better and not repeat your mistakes. And you may, but just turn it around. Do what you can. You may not win back everyone in the moment, but that's the luxury of coming back 3 or 4 months later and doing even better and a larger expansion. And even 2 weeks into a league, like I know Necropolis had a ton of problems, and it's just fix them. Don't get stubborn. Don't get arrogant. Don't sit there going, "Nah, the players are wrong." Like that's madness. Stay away from all. I don't know why people do that. I have absolutely no idea. Just make the game better, and if just keep doing that and stay positive and passionate. And honestly, that is honestly the sentiment to just again keeping morale high and weathering that storm is just like we've been through a lot. Like we've messed up a lot of things. Just make it better. It's fine. You can always do it. It's not that bad. It's completely fine. And just don't. As long as you never have that approach of being like the players are wrong. It's absurd, and I have absolutely no idea why people do that. So honestly, this has been our mentality the whole time, and it has worked honestly always. Sometimes that league has some damage, and that is what it is. And yeah, we shouldn't have fucked up. That's the answer. Like it's right for people to have stopped playing if the game wasn't fun, and so just make it fun. That's it. It's kind of easy, but I understand when it gets emotional and the players are angry, especially about something you did. It can be hard. It can be quite difficult when you are passionate in game development, but just honestly, it's fine. You're making the game for them. You want them to be happy. You want them to enjoy the game. Make the game for them. Do it, right? Like that's your audience. So yeah, I don't know. Generally, just stay positive all the time and just make the best Path of Exile as possible. Now that there's two of them. Yeah, that's all the questions. But I think we're kind of hitting the schedule for going into the one-on-one interviews. So yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciated it a lot. And probably see you in a couple months or something for PoE 2's next one. I don't remember what date it is, but you know, around there. You know, the next PoE 2 expansion. See a lot of you there. If you're not there for that, see you at the next PoE 1 expansion, hopefully. But yeah, hope you enjoy the league. And let me know how you feel about the breaching. It's good. Enjoy all the hands.
All right, so that was my interview. I know it was a little unorthodox, but I do appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. to know when my content goes live. I do greatly appreciate Grinding Gear Games having me join this session. They know I'm not a huge PoE 1 player. I'm more into PoE 2, but I like seeing the team and I like asking them about their philosophy when it comes to creating games. Thanks for watching, everybody. Huge thank you to the members, Chris Reddy, Phil Roney, and Aries EMS, as well as everybody else who supports. You can support at patreon.com/SaveStatePlus or by becoming a YouTube member. I'm going to get out of here, but I will see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.